is because we are feeling that that is a different unit, but actually that is just a cluster of many such families. Like how we have a family, the society is just a cluster of these families. So when we look at it this way, then we realize that they also have the same natural acceptance, they also have the same feelings, and everything is working in the same way. So why not work towards this position where we are with this kind of thing where there are so many families living together in a relationship of mutual fulfillment. Right now, we have a tendency to think that we are different and the other family is different. Our family is one unit and the other family is a different unit. So we create a differentiation kind of. But if we don't create that differentiation and if we see the similarity between all the people within our family and people of other families, similarity in the sense of our basic aspiration and in the thing of our potential, if we see that similarity, then we start to feel like the whole society is one thing, one one unit. We are all one kind of, we start feeling. So even though we might have different opinions, different thoughts, different things happening within us, we can still see very clearly that we are all having the same basic aspiration of happiness and the same way of fulfilling also through right understanding and right feeling at all the four levels. So this is what we are going to discuss. So before this, if anyone wants to share anything about um, this idea of society being a collection of families, or else if anyone wants to share about kind of experimentation with trust and respect, are they able to see? Are you able to see things in a different way by um, seeing the similarity between the people? And seeing that if you have more competence, you can help the other to build his competence, and if the other has more competence, then you can learn from the other. This is what we had last time. So if anyone wants to share, then you can just raise your hand, and then we can talk about it a little bit before we go ahead, so that the thing is more interactive. We get to know what everyone is going through also in the last couple of sessions. We can just explore this simple thing, that what is really desirable and where are we today. These are two different things, right? What is desirable in terms of what we really want is our natural acceptance. Our natural acceptance is for one thing, and where we are is in a different thing, and that's why there's conflict. So if we can bridge that gap, then there will be no conflict, and then we'll have a state of the real society which we're talking about in the first part, families living together in a relationship of mutual fulfillment. And all the members of the family have a common goal, and all the families also have a common goal. So when we're saying common goal, it doesn't mean that everyone has to become an engineer or everyone has to become a doctor. That is not the kind of goal that we're looking at over here. What we're looking at is the common goal of happiness, and the common way of understanding. Somehow we want to reach that same point where we are able to understand and live in harmony at all the four levels. So that is what we mean by the common goal. And it's not about different career paths or different likes and dislikes or those things. It's about broadly what we are talking about as happiness. It's about having that commonality, the basic aspiration and the potential and the program, what we've talked about, that is the same, is what we are saying. So can you see that? I mean, is it clear to are you able to visualize that even even though there might be people who are there in the society who you don't know, like strangers or whoever, we can still see that our natural acceptance, if our natural acceptance is to understand and live in harmony, then we can kind of infer that other people also have the same natural acceptance. So this is what we are trying to explore. There was one hand raised. If anyone wants to share, they can share. So let's take people's opinions about what they feel about society. Like, if you want to share anything about your current feeling about the society and where we want to be and where we are, that kind of comparison, and then what we can do, the dimensions required to achieve our human goal of continuous happiness and prosperity. So it would be nice if someone can share a little bit. Anything, it doesn't have to be exactly on this. You can just share about what you're feeling about the sessions also so far, so that we can take all the inputs and see all the things in line with the slides and how the things are going. So if we look at harmony in the society, what exactly are we talking about? When we have individuals with the right understanding, then what does it lead to? It leads to happiness within that individual. And when you expand this to more and more people, then it leads to that feeling of happiness in every individual, where they don't need to rely on the feeling from the others. They already have the feeling so strongly within themselves that they don't need to rely on the others. And they don't have to kind of they are in a state where their happiness is not dependent on the circumstances. Their happiness is only because of right understanding and right feeling. So once you have that kind of happiness, then regardless of the situation, regardless of anything happening outside, that will not change. So when we're talking about happiness through this method of right understanding and right feeling, then it is something which is long lasting, and it's not a temporary kind of happiness. It's a permanent kind of happiness. So uh, the first step is to work on right understanding and right feeling within oneself. And when we expand that to multiple people, to every individual, then it leads to a feeling of mutual happiness within all the people around us. Like when you expand it to the end, like we can see the next part of prosperity. Prosperity also, when it expands to every family, where every family is able to understand how much they need in terms of physical facility, and then work towards producing that much physical facility. That is prosperity. So when this also happens in every family, then it is something which is which in which you will not have any of those current issues which we have in the society, like corruption and all that. Because if there is prosperity, then everyone is in the kind of mode where they can give, where they can share with others rather than accumulate and exploit others. So if there's a feeling of prosperity, then the natural feeling when you interact with another person is to share, not to take from the other. So this is the feeling of prosperity, and that just expands. If that expands to every family, then what would things look like? You can just imagine. And then you have fearlessness or trust, which is a natural outcome of the prosperity and the happiness. Right now, there's a little bit of fear. There's quite a lot of fear actually in the society. So if the society was looking like this, where there's happiness in every individual and there's prosperity in every family, then there would be no fear from one another. Because just imagine how the situation would be in that case. And you can compare it with what is happening right now. So we can just see what happens. So the question is, are all four required, desirable, or can we leave something out? out of these four: right understanding, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence. If we stop at fearlessness in society, then if there's no coexistence, I mean, if there's no, if you don't take the right care of what is there, if you don't leave the nature as it is, if we try to exploit the nature, then it leads to so many problems on the earth. So we cannot leave out the fourth one also, right? So the question is, are all four required, desirable, or can we leave something out? You can answer in the chat. And if we say that this is the ideal state which is desirable for us, then would anything else be required if all these four are achieved, where we have happiness in every individual, we have prosperity in every family, we have fearlessness in the society, where we don't fear, we don't have feelings of fear between one person and another person, and there is coexistence in nature. There's already coexistence in nature, but we are kind of disrupting the harmony. So nothing really has to be done for the coexistence, because the coexistence is already there. But since we are doing things to, um, you know, to disturb the process, that is the major issue. Like forests will grow on their own. We don't have to grow a forest. But if we are cutting a forest and we are building something, and we are doing like so many of these things where the nature is being harmed, then eventually it leads to this disruption of the balance, and that coexistence which is innate, which is already automatically there, is being disturbed. So when we do that, then we have to make so much extra effort to again get back to the state where there is coexistence. So then we have to put in much more effort. But if we are not harming the nature at all, not doing anything at all with the nature, then there is nothing as such which we have to do. That's an important thing to realize, that now we are, since we are disturbing the natural state, we have to put in a lot of effort to have this coexistence. But if we just let the nature and existence be the way it is, then there's nothing that we have to do actually other than not disturb it. So next we are looking at, are we working at all four? Are we working for all four of these things? Are we looking at us as an individual and then working on our own understanding and working on developing the right feeling within oneself, within ourselves? And are we working on prosperity within the family, fearlessness in the society? And are we working on the coexistence in nature? I mean, are we kind of doing anything for these things? Are we doing anything to establish the right understanding and right feeling within ourselves? Right now, we are trying to understand through all these things. So we are doing a little bit of something, right? In the same way, the prosperity, are we only working on our job, getting money, but then not understanding how much we need, not, making a comparison between how much we need and uh, how much we, what do you call, how much is required for us? Are we making a note on how much is required, or are we just accumulating without thinking about how much we really need? So that is prosperity. If we are working on prosperity, then we'll know exactly how much we need. And then once we have more than that, then we'll share the rest. So that is if we are working on prosperity. If we are not working on prosperity, then we are just earning the money, but then feeling deprived because we feel that we don't have enough, and therefore we keep trying to earn more, and we are in that kind of a loop. So are we in the first kind of thing or the second kind of thing, where we are in, are we in prosperity or in the feeling of deprivation? And then third is fearlessness. Are we working on developing that kind of fearlessness or that kind of trust in the society by first starting with trust on intention? Or are we scared to make anything in the society happen because of um, not having the trust on intention also. And fourth, are we looking at trying to get the balance back to where it should be in terms of the nature and in terms of ecology, all these things, existence? Are we looking at getting back the natural balance of coexistence within the nature? Or are we further disrupting the things with chemicals and um, fertilizers and all that? So this is all things which we can ask and see where we are right now. So the question is, are we working for all four? You can answer yes or no in the chat. Now, next we want to see what would be the sequence and priority of effort on these goals. What do you think? Which one would be the most thing to work on in the next few months? First of all, we can ask, are all four required, or can we leave out any of these things? So you can mention in the chat if you think all four are required or if we can leave out anything from this. I think no one's writing in the chat. If you're there, you can write in the chat and you can. So, are we working on all four, or are we working on any of these, or none of these, or what is the current state in our own uh, experience? We can see. Next is what would be the sequence and priority of effort on these goals? So, what do you think? What would be the first priority? Would it be right understanding and right feeling in every individual, or would it be something else? Imagine the state where we have prosperity in every family, but there's still, the lack of the feeling. Then what happens? Then we might not feel like sharing, and then we might not have that right relationship because of lack of the right understanding. So we can see that the right feeling and right understanding automatically leads to the feeling that the other person is related to me and the other person is similar to me. And then we feel like sharing when we have more than required. Only then we feel like sharing. Otherwise, we feel like the other is a different person and I would share only with my family, not with the other family. That kind of feeling may come. So that's why if we have the right understanding and right feeling for everyone, and we have it within every individual for every other individual, then it leads to that feeling that we want to share, we want to help each other, we want to grow together, that kind of a feeling. So then it leads to that mutual prosperity. And when there's that kind of a feeling within every family, then there's no fear in from one family to another family. There is a kind of situation where we are all friends, almost like we can treat ourselves as all together. There's a feeling of mutual happiness and mutual prosperity. And in this kind of state, there's no feeling of greed also, because right now our feeling of greed is mostly because of lack of understanding of what how much we need and lack of the right understanding in terms of how much physical facility we need, and also the misconception that we are the body. Because when we have these kind of misconceptions, then it leads to all the things which we are going after right now, which is based on the physical facilities and sensual and I mean, these things based on the senses or based on preconditioning, which we do. So only if we are operating from the state of knowing and natural acceptance, only then we'll have the right picture in front of us, and only then we'll be able to have this mutual fulfillment and all the other goals which come in the end. We'll be able to see everything only once we have the right understanding. So therefore, the right understanding is the key, and that leads to the right feeling. Once we have the right understanding, we understand the 9 feelings in the relationship, then it leads to the feeling of prosperity once we have the physical facility also, so that we feel like sharing, and we feel those 9 feelings with every single individual, not only with our family but with other families also we feel the same thing. And then that leads to the feeling of trust within the society. And when that kind of trust exists, then there's no fear at all. And in that kind of a system, we will not feel like exploiting nature because we already have the right understanding about nature, about coexistence. So we'll not feel like taking more than what we need from nature also. So if we live like this, then there is enough for everyone, and at the same time, there is coexistence in nature. At the same time, there is fearlessness in the society. So right now, we have another misconception that there is not enough for everyone, but that is only because of the distribution. So if we see it this way, if we try to look at it in this way, which we have shared over here, then we'll realize that there is more than enough for everyone. And if we see that how much we really need in terms of physical facility is very limited compared to what we are consuming today, then we'll realize that it is not so difficult to reverse the situation if we have the right understanding. If we are able to develop the right understanding in every individual, then this kind of state is actually possible. So therefore, as students and teachers, we have that scope of working on right understanding, and then uh, ensuring the right feeling, so that when that expands to the bigger picture, then we can see that the whole society will look completely different once there are these kind of feelings within every individual, or as the number of individuals with these things goes up, the society will start looking different. So this is what we can see from this. So right now we are in a very different state, and that is mostly because our assumptions are based on what is going on in the society right now. As in, our assumptions are based on preconditioning or our desire for sensual pleasure, or our, we can say, lack of understanding. So because of that, we are making a lot of mistakes, and mistakes in our mindset actually. Mistakes, we can talk about mistake, or we can say misunderstanding, because even though we intend to do the right thing, we are kind of enslaved by our own assumptions because we are not referring to our natural acceptance for the answers. So when we are in that kind of a state, then whatever assumption comes looks like something which we just take without really exploring. So if majority of the people are following one thing, then we feel that we also have to fit in and follow the same thing, even though it might not be according to our natural acceptance. So that's where we are right now, where we are seeing that there are so many assumptions which we have not verified, but we are still using them to take our decisions, because we are not referring to our natural acceptance and simply going with the herd kind of. We are not really exploring these things on our own right. And therefore, it is leading to our own problems also. We are not satisfied even though we have accumulated a lot of physical facility. And we are still going for more because we don't know how much we want. So we can see that if we are able to fix all these things in terms of our state by way of right understanding and right feeling, then the society will look like how it is in the upper side, the yellow one. And if we keep going in the way that we are going right now, then we are leading to a source, a place which has no endpoint. Like in the first section, you can see that if we reach the endpoint, the endpoint is coexistence and harmony. And in the second one, the black one, we can see that the endpoint is resource depletion and you know, fear in the society and all these things, domination. So many things are there which are not desirable. So if we look at what we want to do, we want to move from the lower part, from the black, what is in the black. We want to move from there to the yellow, what we have on top. So this is our human goal, that we want to have right understanding in every individual. And then we want to have prosperity, we want to have trust, and we want to have coexistence. Whereas where we are right now, we are in a totally different scenario because of the current assumptions by a lot of people in the society, which has made it look like that is the right thing to do, or that is the thing to do. So just because a lot of people are doing something, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. Like we can just look at this from our natural acceptance and try to see.
Yes, Arjuni, we have Ravin Kumar Rao ji with us. Ravin sir, namaste. Would you like to put your sharing?
Hello.
जी नमस्ते नमस्ते रविंद्र सर
Namaste.
Namaste, sir.
नमस्ते
Sir,
जी रविंद्र भाई अपनी बात रखिए
sir, nice sharing about the basic principles of human life and just uh, hello.
Can't hear properly right now the question.
रविंद्र भैया some background
So
noise is there. Can you repeat your question once please?
Hello. Some sorts of disturbances are there.
Yeah, Ravin bhaiya, kindly put it once again.
Actually, sir, I do not have a earphone, sir. So
No, no,
that
no, it's fine. Now it's fine. Yeah, please go ahead.
okay, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, actually, it's a nice sharing. I was
Mm-hmm.
attending the sharings and also working some with the PC with attending some AICT portal, sir. So that's why somehow I was listening and working with the AICT portal because April 3rd is the last date for I'm a nodal
Okay.
officer. So,
Yes, yes.
so sir, I was
No, no, it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
no, sir. Thank you.
Namaste, namaste. We have Dr. Silpa Saxena is with us also, and Dr. Soma Viswaji with us, and Professor S.S. Vidya is with us also. So you all have got the mic. You would like to share? Dr. Vilas ji is also with us. Utsav Anand. Utsav, namaste. Utsav, are you getting my voice? Yes, Utsav, you have the mic. Kindly go ahead. No, we are not getting. Okay. Arjun ji, there, Sasikanth sir has just put a query in chat box that is it possible to continue growing human population to balance, are we not to limit the population of human being? Would you like to put some
Yeah.
response there? Yeah, please.
So right now, right, what the situation is that that is also one assumption that because of the population increase, there are problems. But mainly what we are seeing is that the population increase is not the problem. The problem is the lack of the right understanding within the individuals. And because of that, it is leading to lots of imbalance in the distribution of all the resources. So, like for example, in terms of food, we are producing around 6 times what is required for all the people on this earth. So imagine how much that would be. 6 times to fill, like, uh, if there are, say, 7 billion people, we are able to feed them 6 times as much as they need, actually. But that is in terms of how much we are producing. But when we go to the distribution, we see that there are so many percentage of people below the poverty line and so many people who are dying out of hunger. So why is that happening? That is not because of the population increase. That is because of the lack of the relationship and the lack of the distribution of these physical things in the right way. So there are some people who are hoarding them, and then some people will not have them then. So even with the things we can see, even with the uh, resources, we've always been seeing that resources are limited, and there's only a finite number of things available, but there is more than enough for everyone if they consume how much they actually require. Right now, the people are consuming, some people are consuming maybe 100 times what they require, and some people will not get even what they require. So this lack of distribution is the main issue. And lack of distribution, if we look at really what it is because of the assumption that if we have more things, we'll be happier, or assumption that um, this physical facility is the source of happiness, or else the feeling that I want to do the best for my family and make them live comfortable, but then I'll not have a I'll not care about the other people because they are not my concern. So these kind of misunderstandings, these kind of assumptions are what is leading to this um, with this kind of thing where the distribution is very skewed. So rather than looking at the population increase, we have to really take a serious look at this distribution, where the things are going. And um, the main issue there is with our assumptions. That's again to be seen very clearly. That if we feel that, for example, if we feel that money is the most important thing, or physical facility is the most important thing, then how much will we accumulate? We will keep accumulating as much as we have. Like suppose we have 1 crore rupees and we try to buy as much of physical things, then you can imagine how many people are getting deprived of those physical amenities which are required for them. So this is the major issue, that we are thinking that if we have money and we can afford something, then we can buy it. But that's not the case with natural resources. That if you have, say, 1 crore rupees or say 10 crore rupees, you try to buy as many things, you try to make a swimming pool, you try to make a, whatever you do, if you try to play around so much with these natural resources, then you'll realize that you cannot buy it like that. There's no way to buy these things because there's a limited amount of them. And when you are trying to get these things for yourself, then you realize that you're depriving others. So you're actually exploiting others by getting more for yourself. So this is the major problem which needs to be looked into rather than the population explosion. Because at the current rate of population increase, everything will still go well if the people are responsible and people have uh, a good idea of what is right understanding, what is right feeling, and how much they need. And along with that, how much they need, if they have the feeling of relationship, then they will feel like sharing. So then if they have extra, they will feel like giving to the people who have less. So in that way, the balance will be maintained. But if we go in the current system, how we are going, then we are just feeling that if I have enough money for it, then I can afford it. So I can do it. I can buy this or I can buy that. And therefore, since I have put the effort into accumulating that money, then I only deserve it. I don't have to share it. I don't feel like sharing it because I have accumulated it. So I should be using it. So, because of all these things, these assumptions, we are facing a lot of issues. So, this is the major crux of what we need to look at. There's one more hand raised, I think. Utsav. Utsav, yeah, yeah. Okay, I think Utsav has gone. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat also. We can respond from there also if you're not able to, if there's an issue with the mic.
हेलो नमस्ते अर्जुन सर।
Namaste.
अर्जुन सर, आपकी सब बातें आपके इस सेशन से मतलब आप पहले कितनी देर से यही समझाने की और हमारे को बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। मैं अपना एक रिफ्लेक्शन देना चाहती हूँ टू मेक
हाँ
इट
जी,
क्लियर वेदर आई एम गोइंग इन अ राइट डायरेक्शन और नॉट।
हाँ जी,
आप बोल रहे हैं कि राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज प्रॉस्पेरिटी और फेयरलेसनेस एंड फिर हम नेचर के साथ उसको कंट्रीब्यूट करेंगे। मुझे ऐसा लगता है, मैं ऐसा सोचती हूँ कि ये सब कुछ हमारे अंदर इनहेरेंट है, लेकिन हम भूल चुके हैं। हमारे में राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, अगर मैं कुछ गलत करती हूँ तो मुझे समझ आता है मैंने गलत किया, लेकिन मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्लियर नहीं होती। मुझे समझ आता है कि मैंने गलत कर दिया है, लेकिन फिर भी मैं वो काम कर रही हूँ क्योंकि मेरे को लगता है इससे मेरे को शायद पैसा अचीव हो जाएगा या कुछ भी और चीज अचीव हो जाएगी जो मैं अचीव करना चाहती हूँ। तो बेसिकली वही है कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग को भी हमें, मुझे लगता है हमें अपनी राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग को भी एक्सप्लोर करने की जरूरत है। क्या मैं
डेफिनेटली,
सही बोल रही हूँ?
डेफिनेटली बोल रहे हैं वो एग्जैक्टली वैसे ही होता है कि फर्स्ट जब कोई चीज़ सुनते हैं, सपोज आपने ये प्रपोजल सुना या कुछ सुना इसके बारे में, तो फर्स्ट यही होता है कि थियरी में चले जाता है, लाइक वी टेक इट एज समथिंग कि पार्ट ऑफ थियरी कि ये एक ऑप्शन है। सो एक और अजम्पशन बन जाता है। अनलेस वी एक्सप्लोर इट वी विल नॉट गेट द राइट आंसर फॉर आवरसेल्फ। तो अनलेस वी एक्सप्लोर इट वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू यूज दैट much. We'll just keep it in part of our memory, or we'll just make it one more assumption. So this whole thing will become one more assumption. So to explore it, you can explore using your natural acceptance and see what you really want. So just like you're saying ki you might do something for money. So that is not the issue. The issue is that have we understood prosperity? Have we understood how much we need? And if we are very, very clear on that, then if we get more than that, then we will feel like sharing. We will not feel like accumulating more. So how you explore this is to always keep referring to your natural acceptance. And it's a slow process because we are not used to exploring through our natural acceptance. Right now, we are used to, uh, seeing what other people are doing and copying them and thinking that that is right. So we are in that kind of a mode. So to change to this kind of a mode where we are in the feeling where we are able to uh, the kind of skill as in the kind of different style of doing things where we are using self exploration as a means to decide. So rather than seeing what the other people are doing and therefore doing something, to switch from that kind of a mode to the kind of a mode where you are exploring for yourself, that switch has to happen so that you can do every moment and see, and slowly you will find that that gives more happiness and then you'll feel like doing it more and more often.
वेरी राइट अर्जुन सर, यही चीज है ना, पॉइंट इज वी आर इन टीचिंग, ठीक है, वी आर टीचिंग स्टूडेंट्स, कहीं ना कहीं वो भी एक प्रॉस्पेरिटी का पार्ट है। हम इतने कैपेबल हैं कि हम किसी के साथ अपनी नॉलेज को शेयर कर पा रहे हैं। सोसाइटी, अगर हम शॉप से कोई चीज खरीदते हैं तो हम कभी उस पर डाउट नहीं करते हैं, ले लिया तो ट्रस्ट के बेसिस पे ही लिया है, लेकिन ये चीजें हम एनालाइज नहीं करते कि हम ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं उस इंसान पे। हम हमेशा डाउट पे रहते हैं, लेकिन ट्रस्ट हम ऑटोमेटिकली करें, बिकॉज कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ऐसा लगता है ये हमारे इनहेरेंट है कि हमें ट्रस्ट करने की आदत है, मतलब हम ह्यूमंस आर मेंट टू डू दिस। लेकिन
Right.
अब आजकल सोसाइटी और पेयर प्रेशर या कुछ भी, या मीडिया या कुछ इतना हेटेड फैल गया है कि एवरीबडी स्टार्ट डाउटिंग नाउ। नहीं तो आप, मतलब मैं बचपन से जिस शॉप से, दुकान से लेकर आ रही हूँ, तो मैंने तो कभी उस पर डाउट नहीं किया। ही इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ सोसाइटी, ही इज नॉट माई फैमिली, बट मैंने उनसे लिया विद द ट्रस्ट ओनली। आज मैं टीचिंग कर रही हूँ तो मेरे को अपने में फीलिंग आ रहा है कि मेरी टीचिंग, मेरी नॉलेज भी एक प्रॉस्पेरिटी का पार्ट है जो मैं शेयर कर रही हूँ। द मोमेंट हम समझेंगे कि हम शेयरिंग का प्रोसेस शुरू कर दिए हैं, या हमने ट्रस्ट का प्रोसेस बहुत पहले से शुरू किया हुआ है, तो ग्रेजुअली मुझे लगता है हम उसको एक्सप्लोर करते 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 करते, मेरे को लगता है कहीं ना कहीं हैप्पीनेस सोसाइटी में ला पाएंगे। क्या मैं ठीक कह रही हूँ?
हाँ, वही, जब अपने अंदर वो जो है ना, प्रपोजल्स जो हैं, जब हम लोग उनको अच्छे से जांच लेते हैं, तो उसके बाद ऑटोमेटिकली कुछ कुछ निकल के आता है, उसमें से अंडरस्टैंडिंग निकल के आती है। सो फिर जब वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ जाती है तो उसको हम शेयर कर सकते हैं।
जी, थैंक यू।
ओके, थैंक यू। तो इट इज़ अ स्लो प्रोसेस, और ये जो है, इट्स लाइक मोर और लेस समथिंग विच इज something which you can do continuously. You can always refer to your natural acceptance continuously, and then take decisions according to your natural acceptance, and it will actually give more happiness than taking decisions based on these things. Because if we are in the black kind of mode, down, what we have talked about, that if we are in the accumulation kind of mindset, then automatically we'll see that we have a distance from everyone else. Automatically we feel like we have to be on top of everyone else. But if we are in a state where we are looking from our natural acceptance, then we naturally want to relate. As ma'am had mentioned, we naturally have this thing inside us, inbuilt inside us, that we want to trust others, we want to respect others, we want to have the right feelings for the others. That is something which is inbuilt. What you're saying is what we are also referring to as natural acceptance. So this is there within all of us. But because of the way that the things are currently operated, and the way that we are looking at things, um, and we are suppressing the natural acceptance, because of that we are going in a different track. So like how you're saying that the media is saying different things and all that, so therefore we are getting influenced and making our own assumptions about these things, and then we are going in a different track. But if we realize that uh, what we really want is to refer to our natural acceptance and get all our decisions to come from there, then we start doing that. Then even if other people criticize, or other people go in the other black mode, then we still go in the yellow mode. And even though it might look different, or it might not look as good, might not look as glamorous as the black mode, even then we go in it, because we feel that that is the right thing, and that is what leads to our own happiness. So then we go for that, and then we realize that that is the key. So what we were missing in the black thing is the happiness, the continuity of happiness, which we can get in the yellow mode if we go in that mode. So this is what we really need to explore. So we can just try it. We can try going in the yellow mode, taking, like, not going in the black mode, as in whatever assumptions we might have which are in the black, we analyze each and every assumption and try to put it through our filter of natural acceptance, and see whether that is what we really want or that is something which we are just doing just for the sake of doing it without really wanting it. This is something we should see. We should see if the end goal of what we want is, yeah, tell me. Yeah, so I'm, yeah, who's someone speaking? Dr. Manjusha. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Manjusha ji, namaste. Are you want to
Namaste.
share? Do you want to share, ma'am? Welcome.
No, right now nothing, sir.
Okay. Would you like to share your personal experience or any takeaway from today's discussion or from this UHV content?
Uh, right now I won't say anything,
Mm-hmm.
but in the next classes I will share.
Yeah, sure, sure. Welcome, welcome.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Namaste. So are we able to see the difference between this black and the yellow part? Are we able to see that if we are able to work on right understanding and right feeling, then all the things in the black can change to the yellow? Because at the core, the thing which is really disturbing us right now is our lack of understanding. We have some assumptions which we have not validated through our natural acceptance, and we have some kinds of obsession for consumption and profit and sensual pleasure, which is all coming from the lack of right understanding. So we can see that everything is possible to fix simply by the right understanding. And right understanding doesn't mean having the information about this. Right understanding means validating according to our natural acceptance and then bringing it in our life. So if we come to a place where we know that what we really want is happiness and we can understand the harmony within the nature, within the family, within all the four levels, like what we have seen, then we can see that happiness is what we call harmony, not really something different. Whereas in the black, it might look like happiness comes and goes. Happiness is only when you get something from here. But in the yellow, we can see that happiness is to be in a state of harmony. So there's a big difference between our understanding of happiness also. Our assumption about happiness also is very different in the black kind of way of going and in the yellow way of going. So we are assuming that by doing all these things in the black, we are assuming that that will make us happy. Like we are assuming that if we have more money, we'll be happier. We are assuming that we have to exploit a few people to be happier. Like how someone was mentioning about the population. If we have a feeling that the population is too much and there is not enough for everybody, then we will have a feeling that we need to take from the other. We have to take more from the other so that we have enough for ourselves. So all these things stem from the lack of right understanding. So if we are able to fix this one thing, right understanding and right feeling, then all these things can be reversed. So that is the power of the right understanding. And as students and teachers, that scope is there uh, to work on developing this right understanding and sharing it with more and more people. So this is what uh, we can see. These are just a few different events and things that we are seeing as problems because of the lack of right understanding. So you can see in the human being also there are more problems, and in the uh, society also there are more problems. In the families also there are more problems. So all this is stemming from the lack of right understanding. So are we able to see this wide kind of it's like a chain of so many problems coming from the same thing of lack of right understanding. What we are seeing in the form of climate change and global warming also is because we are trying to get more from the nature for ourselves, thinking that if we get more, then we will be happier. We want to kind of take a slice of the planet and keep it with ourselves, but it doesn't really work that way. So because of this thing of trying to get something, trying to keep it with me, trying to keep it for me, this kind of a feeling, because of that we are totally losing our perspective of what these things are. Like, we are first of all going to live only for around 80 or 100 years, right, each one of us. So whatever we accumulate is anyway going to go back to either other people or to the soil, or things are going to go back, whatever things we accumulate. So we need it only for this period of this 80, 100 years. And in that time, if we are trying to accumulate more and more of the planet by in terms of different resources, we want like more gadgets or more things, then obviously it will lead to these issues like global warming and climate change. On the other hand, if we have the feeling of prosperity and we really understand how much we need, how much we want, and how much, I mean, we're able to identify our needs properly, then the whole scenario will change. We'll really recognize how much we want and then how much we need, and then we'll not try to get feelings from others through these resources. Like right now, we are trying to buy a expensive car or build a big house only to impress others, not even to, no, I mean, not only for ourselves, but we're mainly doing it to impress others. So we're making a lot of decisions and lots of choices which are based on trying to get respect from others, trying to get a status, and these kind of things are there, right? So if you really explore, then all those things don't come also, and they're actually coming at the cost of the planet. And if you really look, they're not even like you're not actually getting that respect or anything, which we've seen that the respect is not dependent on these things, which we have talked about earlier. So there are so many problems happening because of lack of right understanding. And if we fix that one thing, then everything will change. So that is the power of right understanding. And that is what we are lacking right now. And therefore, we are making so many choices which are leading to our own unhappiness and unhappiness of others, and also exploitation of nature. And in this current situation, our imagination is also running around these problems rather than looking at a society which would look like the yellow on top. So you can just ask yourself this question, that how much of your imagination is about the naturally acceptable human goals and how to achieve them, and slowly transition from the present society to the human society, from the black to the yellow. How much of our imagination is about trying to make this shift, and how much of our imagination is about the current problems and how to manage in the current system. Mostly what we see is that we are trying to spend most of our time trying to manage in the current system, because there are so many things which we need to do in order to just uh, manage in this black loop, that we are not even looking at what is another possibility, which is the yellow. We are not even looking at that because we are so busy trying to manage within this black circle itself. And this black thing has no end point. That is one very important thing, that we have no end point, which means that at the end of this, what it will look like is that the resources are depleted, the human beings are either in fear or depression, or some kind of ego, or all these issues are there, and the the mind and everything is not working properly, because we are in a different mode. We are in a obsession for consumption, profit, sensual pleasure, and such things. And we have an assumption that money is very, very important. And if we have more money, then it will mean happiness. So when we're in this kind of a mindset, then the end of this loop is even worse than what it is right now. But if we are in the yellow, then the end of the loop is coexistence, which is desirable, which is naturally acceptable, which we all want. So the question over here is how much of your imagination is about shifting from this black to the yellow, and how much of it is just managing within the black and trying to keep going in that loop. So what we can see is that we are just, most of us are just in that same kind of a scenario where we are just going in circles in this black thing. We're going from one to the other and coming back and forth, and nothing is really changing in our life. So this is a question that you can just ask yourself and see. You don't have to answer, but you can just ask yourself and then you'll get the answer. So if anyone wants to comment on this or ask any question regarding this, you can. Because it's 8:30, so we'll just take one or two questions, if any, and then we'll close.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I
Yes,
audible?
Nidhi ma'am, namaste. Welcome.
Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Sir, I have been doing workshops and sessions, but then again today with this discussion, looking at right understanding was possible. I mean, every time that comes to us, it gives a new meaning for that what we were understanding till now. So thank you very much for that. And sir, it keeps I mean it troubles me a lot when I go through the content, and I feel it is so much necessary in this time of today. But sometimes I feel like when it has to be shared with those people who are not into education at this moment, so with them how we should with the discussion, that concern I have. So I feel like there are so many friends of mine who are there at home. So uh, if at least they can go through it, then automatically they can pass it on to the family members, their children. But then how to initiate this talk, how, what should I tell them at the beginning? That is what my concern is. I keep on thinking about it, but till now I have not come across that right way of starting that dialogue. Can you?
Okay. So actually, that's a good question also. That even I also feel this, that I want to share something with somebody, but then I'm not able to because their mindset is totally different at this point. So then I'm not able to share it. So how you're saying that same kind of scenario. So the situation, I mean, the solution for that is to first establish the trust between the other person who you want to share it with. So first they have to be assured in that relation. They have to be assured that you can help them with something. Only then they will be receptive to listening. Otherwise, they will be in a mindset that this person is just trying to tell me something, but I don't want to learn from this person because I feel like it may not help me. So when this kind of thing is there, then it is not really feasible uh, to have the dialogue. So before having the dialogue, the first thing to do is to assure the trust. Means make the person feel very comfortable first of all, and second, make the person feel that you can help them with something. So to show that, it has to come through your own understanding rather than by telling somebody something. So if you are able to have it with your own understanding, means if you're able to develop your own understanding in such a way that the other person starts feeling that yes, you can help me with this, only then you can give this proposal forward. Otherwise it will not go anywhere. I mean, otherwise the person may listen once, but then they may not be able to see the depth of it. So even now, if we see, then you're attending this workshop because you feel that the session can help you. Only because of that you're attending. But if you had a feeling that this session is useless, or if you had a feeling that this thing is only for some people, you might have some assumption, right, before attending. So if you have that kind of assumption, then how do we fix that assumption? How do we initiate it? In colleges, you can do one thing of making 1 or 2 sessions compulsory, or you can make something compulsory. But when you are talking to others, then you don't have this thing of doing something compulsory. So in that case, the only way is to establish the trust first, such that the person really thinks that you can help them, and then you start the dialogue. So to establish the trust, you can even start with establishing the friendship. Before any of this content is discussed, you can establish the friendship also between the people, between who you want to share it with. And after that friendship is established, the trust is established, such that the other person is open, and other person is receptive. Only then you can start putting forward the proposal and start discussing it. Because even we can see that sometimes, yeah, like for some of our friends also, we are not able to put it forward simply because that trust is not established. That feeling is not there that I can help them and they can learn from me. This kind of thing is not there. So this is the first thing that has to be established before the dialogue. Once you do this, then you do the dialogue, that you can attend this, it might be useful. Then suddenly you'll see that they're so receptive, and they will start getting initiated into those things.
Yes. So I used to have this hurry that I have to share, but before that, this step becomes mandatory then.
Correct. Because even if you share now, what they will say is that for you it has not done anything major. So what is the guarantee that it will do something to me? That might be the feeling also. So if it is able to make a significant change in your actual life, not in terms of the theory or the memory which is there, which comes from the sessions, but practically, if people are able to see that, something, like if they're able to see something very easily, like suppose getting angry or something, if they're able to see that nowadays you're not getting angry, nowadays you're always in a good mood, and nowadays you're, something, if they're able to see from their side, then they will feel like, what is this thing that you're attending? They themselves will ask you, and then you will say that this is the thing. Then they will be very receptive. So what I'm trying to say is that rather than telling them, if you're able to have that state within yourself, where you are more comfortable, more calm, and more exploring your own things, your feelings and all that, then other people will start recognizing that. Other people will start feeling that, oh, I also want to do this because I also want to be like you. So they start becoming more interested in that way. That is also possible.
Yes. Ultimately, it comes to me. Yes, sir.
So that is not a bad thing or a good thing. That is just how it is, because people are looking at what your action is rather than what you're saying. Like, you may be saying many things, but in your action, what is actually happening really shows the transformation. So if you're able to show that, not to show someone else, but while you're working on yourself, there'll be plenty of people who will start joining while you're working on yourself, because they will also feel like they want to get that same thing that you have. So it will come slowly, and you don't have to be in a hurry. Rather, you can just do it at your own pace and work on your own understanding, and then these things will automatically start happening once you have discussions with them and all that. Before talking about this content, have discussions and establish that trust, that assurance, and then after all that only, then introduce the content of this thing. Because before you start speaking about these things, it has to come in your living. if it comes in your living, then automatically people want to know what it is, how it came and all that.
Yes, sir, very right.
Nice, Arjun. Arjun, Shashikant ji is saying that happy person is best appreciated as a friend. So, anything you would like to.
Happy person is appreciated or not appreciated, that should not matter if we are like looking at the real happiness, because if we are trying to look happy just to be appreciated, then it means that we are dependent on getting the feeling from the other. So that means that we don't really have the feeling within ourselves. We are just acting as if we are happy, and we can act in front of others, but then when it comes to ourselves, we know the true thing, right? We know that if we are not happy, then it will affect us only. So if we are not happy, then and we are showing it as happy, we are showing others that we are very happy, and we are trying to get the appreciation from the other, then we are very dependent on them giving us the feeling for us to be happy. If they don't give us the feeling, then we'll be sad, but we'll still show as happy. So we can't do this kind of acting for very long, because after some point we will feel that we are just making a fool of ourselves, and then we'll just go into depression or something. So that's not really a solution. That is just a kind of a
Sensation, if I'd say.
hmm?
Right, Arjun?
What?
I said that's just a sensation that we get from the others.
Yeah, and if we are dependent on that feeling from the other, it's a feeling that we are getting from the other, because there's no sensation here in terms of the five senses, but there's a feeling that we are trying to get from the other. So when that happens, then we are just dependent on that feeling for us to be happy, because happiness is a feeling within ourselves also. But then since we lack it, we try to get it from the other, and therefore we try to act as if we are happy. That's what he's saying. So if we try to do that, then um, within us we are actually not happy, but we are trying to show outside that we are happy. And if the other people give the feeling that, oh, we are appreciating this person because he's always happy, then only we know inside what the truth is. And also we are dependent on the other person to give that feeling. We don't have it within us, so we are dependent on getting it from the other. So when the other person stops giving it, then we go into depression. So that's why I'm saying that that is not really a solution. That is just something which people are trying to do, but it doesn't work. So instead of that, you would have to work on developing the real happiness within you. So that comes from right understanding, and understanding of the harmony within us. So it always
Excuse,
comes back to that we cannot act, because we can act for some time, we'll feel good for some time, then we'll go into depression, then again we'll feel good for some time, then again we'll go into depression. So we'll keep fluctuating. We'll not have a stable state in if we go in that way, and we'll always need that appreciation. If we don't get that appreciation, then we'll get depressed. So that's what I'm trying to say. So don't go for that. Don't try for that. Don't do acting. That doesn't really lead to the real thing.
Nice, Arjun. It's already 49. Shashikanji, would you like to say something? I can see the mic unmuted.
yeah, actually, having the happiness is having a harmony. In that sense, having a harmony within self is relatively within our controls. Having a harmony within family, of course, depends upon your natural acceptance and understanding. It becomes more and more difficult as we increase the diameter of the circle. I mean, beyond family, when we go into the society, like our workplace, friend circle, neighbors, as the circle goes on increasing, we find it very difficult to make sure that we will be harmonious with others. Particularly in the era wherein stress is a buzzword, almost everyone is feeling a lot of stress, and people speak more regarding stress rather than speaking regarding the happiness. So this is really a worrisome situation wherein being harmony itself is becoming difficult. So that is what was my perception in the last almost 1 year since when I got attached with this particular exploration kind of situation of universal human, this particular workshop.
Okay, so that's a good question also. So what we are saying is that our own harmony is only dependent on us, so we don't have to rely on the other. That's one thing that you also have said, right? That our own harmony, we can ensure our own happiness is dependent only on us, regardless of the
Correct.
workplace. If the people at work are also talking about stress, if they're having issues and all that, still
Yeah,
still we can be in harmony within ourselves.
correct.
But you are saying it is hard to spread it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that is there because everyone has so many assumptions, so many preconditionings. How we can see in the black that there are so many types of preconditionings and assumptions related to these things, and therefore people are not looking at their natural acceptance. So before trying to tell people to look into their natural acceptance, we have to reach that state first where we are in harmony. And when we are in harmony, then automatically people try to see what this person is doing different. Like if you go to the workplace, and even if the boss shouts at you, even if the colleagues are depressed, whatever is happening, if you are always in a good mood and you're not acting, and they're able to see this over a period of time, then they will ask you, how are you able to manage like this without having stress? How are you able to do this? So then you can have that discussion. Like that means that they're assured in the relation and they feel that you can help them. So only then you can have the
yes,
discussion where you can discuss these things, and then try to tell them also that you could also look at your natural acceptance, and you can also explore all these things. So
yes, yes. Perfect, sir.
only at that point you can start doing that. Till
Correct.
that point, you'll have to work on really turning this stuff from theory into practice for yourself.
Mm,
So when we are
true.
saying happiness is harmony, then it's very easy to say that we are in harmony or we are not in harmony, or we are in happiness or not in happiness. But the real thing is when we are able to live it like that, and then have those feelings within us which are continuous.
True, sir.
And even if we are in the process, even if we have not reached the end point where we are in continuous happiness, even then, if we have reached a point where we are in happiness for a majority of the time, then automatically others will also start seeing that, and others
Yeah.
will also try to learn from you, and then you can also teach them without being dominating. You can also teach them with the view of mutual development and that kind of thing, and then
Yes, yes.
that will
It
lead
is
to,
perceived. Yeah.
yeah, that will lead to what you're saying, that other people will start understanding it also.
Yeah. Thank you,
So
sir. Very well said.
generally this process of changing this thing from the theory to the practice may take 10 to 20 years of working on yourself properly, right? It may not happen in 1 or 2 days. It may take less time or more time depending on how much we are working on it and where
Yeah.
we are right now.
Really
But
good.
just to give an idea, it is it can take couple of years also to get to that point. So then we shouldn't be in a hurry, rather we should keep focusing and working on it, so that we are
Mm,
in happiness for most of the time, and then we will slowly be able to have more of people who can learn from us, and more people who we can teach, and so on.
perfect, sir. Well said. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll close now because it's
Yes,
getting late.
Arjun. It's nearly,
It was a good discussion.
yes, nice discussion. Anyway, I think we'll close the session here.
Yeah.
So, dear friends, we'll call it a day today, and we'll meet again next Wednesday for furthermore discussion on proposals related to UHV. Till then, Friday is yet another day when we have a follow-up session on holistic health. Please do join in then also, and have a happy exploration all this while. We'll meet again next Wednesday at 7:30 for the eSIP follow-up session related to universal human values. Thank you, Arjun, for such a wonderful and nice discussion. And namaste to all. Parikshit Bhaiya, I'll request
Namaste.
you.
Yeah. Namaste, Didi.
Namaste, Bhaiya.